Hello everyone, welcome to another podcast. Today is my last upload of the day, episode 4 of the Radio Legends series. Today's interview was with Boom Radio and Radio Moments host David Lloyd. So Boom Radio's very own David Lloyd and Radio Moments host David Lloyd, so here it is. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another podcast. My name is Ben Lister and welcome to another podcast in this radio special and exclusively radio-based podcast from all different lives and times from in radio stations history, from Radio 1 to Radio Caroline to Radio Luxembourg to all different radio stations like Viking FM and loads more of radio history. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Loads of guests to come over the series. My fourth guest today in episode 4. He's a DJ, an iconic radio host, and he's a presenter of Radio Moments, and he's a creator of the book by the same name, and he's in charge of Boom FM. It's of course David Lloyd. Hello, David. Welcome along.
Hello, Ben. I'm liking your duvet. The soundproofing is amusing me completely.
That's good. Yeah. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm well, thank you. Yes.
5 questions to talk about your topic of your love of radio, if that's okay.
Fire away.
Okay, let's go for it. You ready to rumble in the jungle?
I think I'll run about in the jungle, but we'll rumble.
10 questions, sorry.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I am, thank you. 10
sure?
questions,
right, okay.
Sorry. I normally hijack people's interview when they try and interview me, so I'm guessing you'll probably do the same.
I'm doing exactly the same, Ben Lister.
10
when did
questions.
you start your broadcasting career, Ben?
Well, where did you start yours, David?
Oh, me, that's right. Mine was in Nottingham, in my hometown, and grew up wanting to be on the radio, ended up at hospital radio, and then got a job in commercial radio at Radio Trent. So that was the first gig in pioneering times in commercial radio, and it was a dream that came true, and I didn't expect it to, because when you're not in radio, you can't imagine ever being in radio, not least when there are only 20 stations around in the country. So it was a real achievement, and I was very happy.
Yeah, as you say, you must have started with greats like Dale Winton, Peter Tate.
Yeah, it was replete with talent. I think Trent, although Nottingham's a sort of medium-sized city, I think the station was quite respected across the network. And yes, Peter Tate, who then moved on to Radio Air in Leeds, and very entertaining character. Dale was there. Dale always used to say to Peter, "Oh, Peter, if only you were as funny as that on the radio." And they used to have lovely banter in the office. So it was a station of larger than life characters.
Which did you get to talk? Did you speak to any of them too?
I spoke to all of them. Yeah, I mean, one of my early jobs was doing the travel news, and Peter Tate was on the drive time show, so I'd run downstairs with travel news, and he'd throw it in the bin because he didn't want to bother with my travel news. I don't blame him, quite frankly. We used to type it out on typing paper, and it was pink typing paper, and you could barely read the typing on it. And apparently somebody had years ago ordered much too much of this paper, so we had loads of this awful pink paper. Anyway, Peter, that's a long story. Peter Tate, yes, he was on the drive time show. So and Dale, I used to help out his show as well. Used to write the horoscopes for him on occasions. He had this woman who used to do the horoscopes, and occasionally they didn't arrive by this pre-email, didn't arrive by post. So he asked me to write them. So I used to sort of co-produce the Dale Winton show. And if he wanted to go to the toilet during a segue, he would give me a call. "Darling David, can you help?" And I'd have to go down whilst he went to the loo, and I would segue his songs, because it was all all manual in those days.
Yeah, we'll go to question 2. Who were your early inspirations and influences in broadcasting when you were starting out?
I listened to BBC local radio. I think I was impressed there with the professionalism of the presentation team there, not least a chap called Dennis McCarthy, who was, beautiful voice and one of the best communicators in radio. So Dennis was an influence. I used to ring up as a little teenager and get on his show. And used to, one of those shows where you could talk about anything. So I'd ring up and chat with him about the price of fish. Actually, we never talked about that. It's a fascinating topic. But Dennis was brilliant. And of course, on my local station, there was Len Grote and John Peters, who I admired as well for very different reasons as well. And in fact, it was weird because Dale, when I listened to him, it wasn't my sort of radio. I think it wasn't quite Anarchy enough, really. It wasn't quite as radio-y enough. Looking back, he was brilliant. He was a brilliant music jock, but I didn't realize really the art of what he was doing at the time. But Dale and Len and people like that, and the whole Trent team was really impressive. And I can't stop laughing at you with that duvet on your head. Sorry. So they were all good. And of course, on Radio 1, we had Tony Blackburn. And I think even to this day, I have a little bit of Tony Blackburn because he was just wonderful, and he is just wonderful. And I think he's better now than he's ever been because it's real Tony now. And you can hear that he's lived and lost and been through all the heartaches that we all have. And you can hear that depth on air without him saying anything. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, and also you talk about Dale Winton as well.
I do, yes.
Dale. Sorry, I'll just have to take a phone call, so I'll just have to pause it. That'll be it. We're up to the Tony Blackburn part.
Yeah, I was just saying Tony was a great influence, and I still rate him very high to this day. Noel Edmonds, very different, but he had skill as well, immense skill. And it's really weird when you listen back to some of those programs on Radio 1. They're so good and they're so clever. And I have to say, although people talk about the heyday of commercial radio, and there were some brilliant programs, there was a lot of dross on there as well in those days. And it's easy to forget how many stations were broadcasting really bad stuff because Britain really was just getting its act together. And there were few models of great commercial radio in this country. Thankfully, we had a few, very bright programmers, but no one quite knew what they were allowed to do. It was a very peculiar regulatory environment as well. Anyway, that's very tedious, isn't it?
Yeah, as I say, one of
my... You shouldn't say yes.
Sorry, as I say, one of my inspirations is the great James Whale, who you've interviewed.
Yes. And he was one of the early greats. As I said, there were many of them, but when you listen back to cassettes of some of the early commercial radio stations, whole streams of songs you've never heard of, and 10-minute links and lists of lost parrots and things. In a competitive world, had there been alternatives, I suspect some of those stations wouldn't have been as big as they were. And it's true that some of the stations in that era were being outflanked by Radio 1, which was only on medium wave. So some greats, but let's not kid ourselves that all that radio was brilliant.
Some bits were.
Some bits indeed there were. We've got Les Ross on Boom Radio. What a gifted entertainer. I mean, he's pure Paul Merton. He's a gifted comedian. There were some brilliant guys and girls, but not many women, of course, in that generation.
I'd love to interview some of your guys from Boom Radio sometime.
Well, I'm sure they can talk for England for you.
Excellent. This is the career-defining interview, as I say.
Is it?
Yeah.
For them?
For me, because it'll open a load of doors, the interview with you, because lots of my radio colleagues have suggested listening to your Radio Moments podcast.
That's very good of you. I'm very proud of it. Enjoyed making it. It's a real passion project.
And I think it's brilliant. You even interviewed yourself.
Well, actually, a friend of mine interviewed me. Yeah, my best friend interviewed me. But I
Brilliant.
made it. I cut it up. I made myself sound all right. I hate being interviewed. I'm not hating this though, Ben. You're all right.
I'm one of the first lucky ones to get the interview with you.
I wouldn't say it was. I wouldn't say you were lucky. Is there another question coming?
Question 3.
Oh,
What
yes.
is your favourite part about being a broadcaster?
The fact that you're on your own. I'm not a team player. I like doing things on my own. I always think I do my best work on my own. Whenever people start pitching in and having meetings about it, and I think things get diluted when you do that. And the great thing is when you're on your own broadcasting, and no one. What's that old saying about downslight? No one's watching. That's the best thing about radio. And you're on your own in a concrete room, and you can be the you really want to be, rather than the you are when you're with other people, because they're affecting how you feel. This is getting ever so deep, Ben. Stop it. I'm blaming you.
Well, you're a hero of man.
Oh, bless you.
Question 4. Let's do it in a Bruno Brooks.
We're rattling through these now, aren't we?
Let's do it in a Bruno Brooks fast-paced chart show style.
Right.
Question 4. What is your greatest achievement in radio?
Yet to come. I hope in the creation of Boom Radio, a radio station for baby boomers across the UK on DAB and online, we will create a significant new radio station which has a appreciable and loyal audience, and I think we're halfway there. So this is the most exciting bit of my career, but I would have said that probably at any stage you'd asked me. The exciting bit is always the bit you're doing now.
Awesome. That's good. My favorite part about the radio is not my interview, sorry. I know, and now we'll move on to question 5. It's all about your radio moments, your moments in radio series. I know you run a series called Moments in Radio. Can you tell the listeners and viewers what is it all about?
The thing about radio is it's very transient, isn't it? You hear a great bit of radio and it's sort of gone. I know it might be on catch up or whatever, but wading through all those hours of radio broadcasts every day across the UK, no one knows what's happening really. So I thought I want to keep those little clips that mean a lot through history. So I started putting them on and documenting them, and we put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds on with a bit of a narrative as well, and they've become a bit of a useful source for people who are looking for great bits of radio from the last 100 years. And often I get calls from the BBC saying, do you mind if we use one of your clips? And I say, it's yours actually. It belongs to you. So assembling that dictionary of great audio pieces was the project. And then I started thinking, what about the people who are involved in this great chapter of radio? We're not getting any younger, and the stories are dying with us, the great characters, the great times we had. And the strategy and the regulatory backdrop of radio is oft catalogued, but not the way it felt to walk into one of those great radio stations in the 70s and 80s. And I thought, well, if we just do a few conversations with a few people and keep those as legacy pieces. And that's what I started doing. And after 2 or 3, I thought, you don't need me in there, because I was doing the interviews, and I chopped myself out from then onwards and just let the person tell their own story. And you can make up your own mind about how successful they are and whether they were the architect of their own downfall or success or otherwise. And I'll leave the listener to make up their own mind, but it's peppered with audio pieces as well. And people sent some lovely messages to me about the series. They said, I'm on a long drive. I've just heard one of those programs and I've been totally immersed. And the idea is that you feel as though the person in radio and in the conversation series is sitting next to you on the car seat and telling you everything about their life. And they get very intimate. I mean, I've had a lot of people in tears during those those interviews, which sometimes the original versions go on for 3 or 4 hours. But I'm pleased if I could pop off tomorrow. If I leave a whole bundle of audio that somebody will find interesting, then that'll make life worthwhile.
Brilliant.
Any more on death? Any more questions on dying? I'm sorry. Goodness, where are you taking me?
Sorry. I think
my fault. What do you think?
Yeah, because a friend of mine, also Jonathan Gould, was telling me that he listens to your series, and he's at Radio Anorak. If you've heard of Jonathan Gould.
I have heard of Jonathan Gould, yes. He's heard of me.
Question 6. Who haven't you interviewed that you would like to interview in your Radio Moments series?
Well, the first thing to say is I'd like to start that Radio Moments conversation series up again. I've done more than 100 of them, and it acquired a great following. And I haven't done any since about 8 or 9 months now, because of launching Boom Radio. I've been so busy. I just haven't got the time and the emotional energy to pick up on it. And every time, if I were making them now, every 10 minutes I spent on that, I'd be thinking, well, that's 10 minutes I haven't spent on making a Boom Radio promo. So I can't, I am utterly shattered at the moment, and I just haven't got the time. So I hope that at some stage I'll be able to resume that and interview. I haven't done Nick Ferrari yet. I haven't done Jane Garvey. There's a whole list of people I really, really would like to chat to. And the nice thing is people say yes, and also they're really touched by the program. When I send them a link to it, they say, "Wow," and that means a lot to me. They're radio professionals, and they actually like it as a piece of radio and as a legacy piece. And I did one of the early ones with Ian Rufus. Ian was a much loved radio managing director in the 70s, 80s into the 90s, and remembered fondly for his time at Mercia and BRMB. And I interviewed Ian when he wasn't very well, and it wasn't long after the interview that he died. And it was good. When I met him, he was in fine form, I have to say, and it was good to put his life on the record there, with all the ups and downs and with his typical good humour. And his son got in touch saying how much that meant to him to have an hour of his dad talking so honestly. So it's ever so fulfilling.
Yeah, brilliant. And also and also, have you interviewed Stephanie Hurst yet? No.
She's not old enough, because I'm trying to do people who've sort of, I'm not saying there's nothing more they can do, for goodness sake. That would be ridiculous, because as Boom Radio is proving, you can go on forever. But, you get to a certain stage in your life and you stop caring so much about things. And also you're probably carving out your own career in your own way, less dependent on a single employer, and can talk more freely. So I like to get people when they're, in their later years. So she's too young and glamorous, but I did offer her a special, and I would like to do Stephanie at some stage.
And also a guy who I've interviewed, Carl Kingston. Have you had him on yet?
No, he was exclusive to you. I rang him up and he said, "No, I'm doing Ben Lister." I'm just joking, but he might say that if I did ask him.
Ask him.
I will.
Ask him.
He will. He'll probably say he's too busy talking to Ben Lister.
He did an hour with me. And he's a legend. And you should get him on board. You should get him.
He is a legend.
I'd go and ask him for you.
Well, when I get the series up and running again, I shall talk to you and you can put me in touch.
Yeah, I'll put you in touch with Carl, don't worry. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm missing your duvet, Ben.
One of my mates was actually on your station, I think, or something.
Who's that?
Nigel Bond.
Nigel Bond.
He does the Hits and Memories program.
On what station's this?
It was either Boom or something.
No, I don't remember that name. I forget things easily, so my apologies to Nigel if I have.
Yeah. Because you have people like Diana Luke.
There is nobody like Diana Luke apart from Diana Luke. She's unique.
I remember her from Viking.
She was on, I was going to say she was on your station, wasn't she? and the Superstation. What a voice! What a beautiful. Actually, she hasn't got a voice at the moment at all. She's lost it. She can't speak. And yesterday she tried, and oh goodness! But hopefully she'll be back soon.
Yeah, because she was at a station before you called the Wireless.
She was.
Because one of my friends called Alan Hyde, who produced Ian Collins' show back in the day, used to work on, does a show on the Wireless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are we? What question are we on now?
Question 7. What does radio mean to you?
It means the purest form of communication, which is the voice into the ears, because I think as soon as you introduce visuals into it, what you wear, how you walk, how you present yourself, all those get in the way, don't they? But when you just hear a voice, you make up your mind so quickly. There have been lots of studies in all this, some very famous ones with presidential elections and how the electorate view differently the interviews they watch on the telly compared to the radio ones. So what does radio, what was the question? What does the radio I've gone off on one. I don't know. What's the question?
Yeah, what does radio
You've forgotten
mean
as well. I've gone on so long.
you?
What
does radio mean to you, number 7?
Yeah, number 7. You see, had it been 6, I would have given you a better answer. Yeah, so it is that intimacy. It's a cliche, isn't it, the one-to-one thing? But it is just the fact that you can say, I mean, particularly at the moment where I, do my programs from here in my house, and they're broadcast, nationally on DAB. We were on holiday in Wales last week, and it was just driving over some bridge, and just looked around at the wonderful scenery and thought, my goodness, our signal reaches here, and it's from our house, and it's just incredible, isn't it? These words just in the air, and the way that those words can persuade and influence, and all the I've written about this in my book Radio Secrets, the power of words and how particular words affect not only how you feel in terms of comforting and reassuring and whatever, but also how your body behaves. You talk about olfactory words about smell, and the body sort of starts to behave as if they'd smelt the smell you are describing when you talk about the smell of the grass in the park after the rainfall, after a long, long summer's day, and all those things. It's just so powerful, those words in the air.
Brilliant. We'll move on to question 8. And this is
It wasn't that brilliant. It wasn't that brilliant, Ben. You would have asked me to say some more if it had been that brilliant.
Say some more then. Say some more.
I'm only winding you up. Sorry, what was the question then? My fault. I'm winding you up, Ben. Stop it.
What song reminds you of the radio?
Which song?
Yeah. Which song?
Which song? Well, they all do, because we play them all. Certainly on Boom. There's nothing we stop at. No, which song reminds me of the radio? Okay, July, July, July by Billy Paul, because that was the first song on radio. Trent, 301 96.2 on the 3rd of July, 1975. John Peters. And yes, and that was the start of commercial radio in Nottingham. Very special, my hometown. So that means a lot when I hear it now. It just makes me think of those days, particularly because it wasn't a hit really. It was just that it doesn't get played like White a Shade of Pale. It was just a song that to me will always mean just radio. Calling occupants of interplanetary craft, because I love the Carpenters. I remember when that album was released, and Tony Blackburn played it on medium wave on his afternoon show. And I remember it's a brand new album, and the signal, it was a winter's day, and the signal was going in and out. It was that wonderful end of Calling Occupants, and Tony Blackburn just coming off the end with the just the right level of energy, which the great jocks do. And he'll never remember that link, and that link he did is still in there. Isn't that weird?
Have you ever interviewed Tony?
I have. In my series. You see, you've missed an episode.
Yeah.
Call yourself an anorak. Call yourself an anorak.
Yeah. Yeah, because Tony Blackburn's a legend, and also there's also Bruno as well, Bruno Brooks.
Yes, that's right.
If you like his chart show style.
Yep, he was, doing a chart show is It's a really difficult thing to do really well. There are some great. So we actually on Boom Radio we have John Peters, who does, I think, a brilliant chart show. You can hear that he grew up to Fluff hosting that show, and he's a good guy. As was Bruno, as is Bruno.
And he inspired the next generation, like Neil Fox.
Yeah.
Because the person that he was up against on the network chart, the host at the time when Bruno was hosting it was Kid Jensen.
Hi there.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be impressed with my impersonation there.
I like it. I'd love to interview Kid Jensen.
You can interview me and I'll pretend to be Kid Jensen if you like. I've written his book. I've helped him write his book. So I can just read bits out from it. No, what was I saying? What was I saying before that? No, about the chart show. No, getting a chart show right. I mean, Stephanie does it well. You don't get long. You get seconds, and you've got to add to the energy, the pace, the tension, the suspense, the excitement of building up to the number one. That takes a lot of doing. And also, you can't get it wrong. When something goes wrong in a normal show, you just brush it aside. Listeners quite like it. You say, what you sort of just add, what was I talking about? Oh, where's that thing? You can do all that. You can't do that in the middle of the chart. You can't say that's at number 2 and at number 1. Oh, what was it again? Hang on a minute. I've put the wrong record on. You've got to get it spot on when you do a chart show. And that's the art, that excitement.
Did you like Dr. Fox before Stephanie Hess doing the chart show?
I did. I like them all. But as I say, it's a real art.
Yeah, and he had Tough Act to follow with Kid Jensen before him.
Hi there.
Yeah. Anyway,
this is going to be cult viewing because you're making this brilliant, Ben.
I'm just a broadcaster from Hull who's just starting out, to be honest.
I'm just a tired has-been from Nottingham.
You're not a has-been. Don't put yourself down.
Oh, you sweetie.
You're an inspiration.
Oh, bless you. What's the next question?
Question 9. The penultimate.
9. We're getting through them now, aren't we? Right.
How do you think the world of radio is adapting in COVID times?
Oh, that's a good question. It's adapted really well, hasn't it? It's coming to its own. I mean, first of all, it's stayed on air. And that's been remarkable, isn't it? With so many people not able to get in their premises, and we've realized that we don't need to be in big buildings to do some great radio. So the fact that we've stayed on air, and let's pay tribute to the engineering and the IT teams who've been pulling their hair out trying to, get stations on air, sometimes involving people who are, not too hot on their own IT, so huge tribute to every technical brain who's helped out in the process, and to the presenters who are, those of whom have, sorted it out from themselves. So that's been a real achievement. And then on the air, you've had presenters having to adapt to some very horrible times, knowing that your job on the radio is to cheer people up, and yet you don't want to appear trite in the most challenging of circumstances, and picking the right words and relating to people in difficult circumstances, but then lifting them back up again at the end. That takes real skill. And we've heard some presenters, the great presenters can ride that horse and go from sweet to bitter and light to shade and darkness to light. And the greats do that, just as the great dramas on TV like Coronation Street do.
Yeah, I remember because I was listening to Nation Radio the other a few months ago, and it was Dr.
You should be listening to Nation Radio a little more often than that.
Because it was Neil Fox. And he was talking about Phil Collins' Easy Lover, and I loved the link that he put after the song. He said the drum kits went up the year that the drum kits went up when Easy Lover came out.
Yeah.
And he said he used to play the drum kit as well.
I bet he did. I couldn't do that.
Are you a big Phil Collins fan? Are you a Phil Collins fan?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, clearly I admire him for his achievements, and clearly he's He's wrestling with challenges at the moment, isn't he? Bless him.
Yeah.
But it is certainly part of some phenomenal music in its time.
Yeah. Question 10. Last question on the list, and this is for the next generation of broadcasters. What advice would you give to young, aspiring broadcasters who are starting out?
First of all, when we talk about broadcasting, it's probably more than that, isn't it now? People are making audio in whatever form. It doesn't matter how it's being conveyed to somebody else's ears. So they're making audio. And therefore, you've got to realize that you only have two things, the voice and the words. And they're the only instruments that you're allowed to play. Make sure you play them well. And how do you play them well? You listen and you learn from everybody else. You listen, you criticize, you work out what's working with other people, you work out what's not working with other people. You try and take those illuminations and not impersonate people, but learn from what they do. And then take the time to get it right yourself. And those early, whether you're on air or making a podcast or whatever, don't try too hard. Try to be yourself and realize that you won't be very good at first. It's fun. I hear a lot of podcasts, and you've got people who are really good and intelligent, great at a particular subject, but they start out trying to do a double act with their best mate for the first 10 minutes. And you think, sorry, you're not Anton Deck. That's not what you do. Can you just move on and do what you do? So what's that bit of advice? It's about focusing on what you do best. So concentrate on the words, think about the voice, concentrate on what you do best, be yourself, and practice.
Brilliant. That's it for today, David.
Oh, there's more tomorrow. No.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
Ben, thanks ever so much. We've had a good laugh, but I've enjoyed it a lot. Thank you, Ben.
Do join me again soon for another podcast.
What, me?
But
oh no, the
guests.
listener. The listener, yes.
Join David and his team on the fabulous Boom Radio.
DAB and online across the UK.
Excellent.
Thank you, Ben.
And many more stations, and his Radio Moment series, of course, is on his website, which I'll link to later on in the social medias. I will put a description below later on. Thank you very much for watching and listening. Don't forget, this will be available on my website, wix.com, and my YouTube channel. More content coming soon. But for now, thanks very much for watching and listening. And that's a wrap.
That was my interview with David Lloyd. Hope you really enjoyed it. Hope it filled a gap in your time. More content coming soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe and all that good stuff. Talk to you soon. Be out, and that's a wrap.